Congressman, thanks for joining us, Congressman. You're pushing this bill again to prevent individual trading of stocks by members of Congress. Is that because you don't trust about a third of your constituents, to be honest, that they might have insider trading let on? What's the real reason for this, Congressman?
Well, there are two kinds of people in Washington. There are those who came here to root out corruption and those who are wedded to the status quo. And I am determined to root out corruption wherever it exists, certainly in the White House or the courts, but that includes in Congress. And there is no doubt that the opportunity for corruption is significant when members of Congress are trading stocks. There's two problems with it, Gene.
Okay.
The first problem is that when members of Congress are voting on bills, we should be voting based on what we think is the best thing for the American people, not what is best for our investment accounts. That kind of a conflict of interest is not good. But second, as members of Congress, we have access to all kinds of inside information, and it is fundamentally unfair for members to be able to trade off of information that the average member of the public does not have. So the bill that we are introducing today would ban this practice once and for all, and this is the best chance we have to get this done. I brought together a bipartisan group of Republican and Democratic members from across the political spectrum. But the one thing we have in common is that we are standing up to call for reform and to call for an end to this practice. And I hope that Speaker Johnson gives us a vote so we can get it done.
Well, you know, Congressman, again, Nancy Pelosi, there's no insider trading. No. It's all above board. Members of our own delegation of traded stocks, Sheldon Whitehouse, has received some unflattering headlines for that. You're going to step on some toes. And is it, again, just because you don't trust people who say, I'm above board, I'm not doing anything wrong? Go ahead, take that, and we'll move on to another topic.
Well, there are both Republican and Democratic members who engage in stock trading, and we know that. My point is that it shouldn't be allowed. So I'm not going to point fingers at any individual member. Again, this is a bipartisan practice. Both parties have members who have been doing it, but they shouldn't, because again, the public should be able to trust that when they elect someone to come and serve and represent them in Congress, that they are going to be looking out for the best interests of their constituents, not trying to make a quick buck by trading off of inside information. And so, yes, to answer your question, I am sure that I have some colleagues who are not happy that we are doing this, but it is the right thing to do, and so I'm pushing forward.
Yeah, mutual funds would be okay. In fact, you would actually, this bill, correct me if I'm wrong, you have 6 months to sell all your stocks and do whatever you want after them, but you're not going to trade stocks if this passes. Am I correct in that? And just a follow-up, have you counted the heads? If it gets to a full vote, do you have the votes?
To be clear, this bill would prevent not only trading of stocks by members of Congress, but also members of Congress would no longer be able to own individual stocks. When the bill passes, there would be a period of a few months for members to comply, but after that, you can't own, you can't sell, you can't trade, you can't profit off of your position. Broadly held mutual funds like the S&P 500, fine, but not individual stocks. As far as whether we have the votes, I believe we do. The American people want this, and I believe that if this gets to the floor, it will pass overwhelmingly. However, there are some members of Congress who I am sure are going to the Speaker and saying, please, please don't bring this to the floor, please, please don't do this. And so ultimately, Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, has to make a decision. And I do believe if he gives us a vote, we will prevail. But it's in his court now, and he needs to do the right thing. Again, this is a bipartisan bill. I've been working with Republicans like Chip Roy and Tim Burchett, Democrats like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Pramila Jayapal. It's a bipartisan bill with broad support, but the Speaker needs to do the right thing and give us a vote.
All right, let's move on to some other topics. You are urging the president to reverse the ban on offshore wind. He pulled the plug. The critics say, Congressman, it's a scam. It's heavily subsidized. The electricity is too expensive, and it's basic. And plus, it kills the whales and the fish. And I saw it in Newport just the other day from the cliff walk. It's a little unsightly. Your take on that?
Well, the number one issue I hear from Rhode Islanders is that costs are too high, including the cost of energy. In Rhode Island, as you probably know, we have some of the highest electricity prices in the country. People are desperate for lower electric bills. And the Revolution Wind project has a contract to deliver electricity to the grid at less than half of the current price. They have a contract to deliver at 9 cents a kilowatt hour. The average Rhode Islander is paying north of 25 cents a kilowatt hour right now. And so Rhode Islanders were desperate for these lower energy costs, which, by the way, would also come from a project that is American-made. Domestic American energy independence is something that we should support. And what the Trump administration has done is stop this project when it was already 80% done. As you know, 45 turbines already built, ready to deliver low-cost electricity to the grid. Today, at the Natural Resources Committee in the House, I had the opportunity to ask an Assistant Secretary of the Department of the Interior why they put this stop work order into place, and he couldn't give me an answer. There's no clear rationale for it. So again, we are desperate for lower electric costs in Rhode Island. We have hundreds of tradesmen and women right now who are facing unemployment, who are working on Revolution 1, who want to be able to tell their families when they can go back on the job. And we got to get this done. It's been radio silence from the administration on why they have done this when they have let other projects, including in New York, offshore wind projects, move forward. So I hope the administration will give us an answer soon.
To get that cheaper electricity, though, it's heavily subsidized, about 30%. And it's foreign owned. Orsted is the construction, the overseeing the whole thing. And you know what? Your constituents in the fishing industry in your district are very much against it. They must have given you an earful. The fishing community doesn't want it.
Well, let me address all of that real quick. So first of all, on cost, every form of energy across this country is subsidized in one way or another. There's no reason that Rhode Island-made energy shouldn't get the same treatment as oil and gas does. And again, what matters at the end of the day is the cost to the consumer. Rhode Islanders have some of the highest electricity costs in the country because Rhode Island doesn't produce gas or coal or oil. We're at the end of the supply line. And Rhode Islanders, Rhode Island homeowners and Rhode Island businesses would get significant relief if this project comes online. I recognize that everyone is not in favor of it and some people have concerns, and I understand that. But the fact of the matter remains, this thing is over 80% done. Money has been invested. These are American jobs, not just the construction jobs, but the ongoing jobs. Why not have Rhode Island generate our own electricity with American-made jobs and lower costs instead of relying on other countries or other parts of the country? But again, at this point, the main thing that we need from the administration is answers. The stop work order was one page long. It didn't provide a clear rationale. It said they were conducting a review, but it didn't say what they're reviewing. And so we just need some answers on what this review is, how long it's going to last, and what they're looking for. And so far, we have not gotten those answers.
I assume everything you just said to me, that's the answer for the fishing community down in Galilee. They're very vocal. They don't want it. That's your district. All right.
Yeah. The fishing community is split on it, Gene, and I meet often with representatives of both the commercial and recreational fishing industries. They're split on it. I understand that. But when I talk to the fishing industry in Galilee, in particular the squid fishermen, they are more concerned with some of the proposed offshore wind developments in other areas. But look, I recognize that, like all big issues, this one has arguments on both sides. But at this point, the project's already done, and Rhode Islanders are hungry for those lower electric costs.
All right, listen, the lead story tonight and in tomorrow's papers will be the Epstein files. There was a news conference attended by women who say they were victims of Epstein, and they're demanding Congress release every stitch of paper we have on it, and they want your vote on that. Will you vote on that, Congressman? Yes, would you release all the Epstein files, let the chips fall where they may?
Absolutely, and I'll do one better. I've already signed on to what is called a discharge petition, which is to try to force a vote on releasing all of the files. It's the Trump administration that needs to release the files. Their Department of Justice has those files now, and I think we all suspect that there are powerful and rich people who have been trying to get the president not to release the files, but everything should be released. The victims demand that, the victims deserve that, and to be clear, there is no substitute for just releasing the files, right? All the rest of it is just noise. I've signed on to the discharge petition, and I hope that we'll get a chance to vote on that and deal with this once and for all, and let the chips fall where they may.
Well, then I assume that you have no concern that your father's chip is going to fall in the wrong direction. You've addressed that. Your father was on the Epstein plane. Ira Magaziner. Your aggressive posture tells me that you know there's nothing that's going to come back to bite anybody in your family. That's pretty aggressive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, I'm very proud of my father. He worked for President Clinton for a number of years, working to lower the cost of HIV medication around the world. Every once in a while, they would go to a conference or something like that and take a donation of an airplane from somebody. And apparently, one of those times it was from Epstein. This was before he had been charged with any crime. I am very confident that my father never did anything wrong. He's not been accused of doing anything wrong. But again, my position very clearly is release every single one of the Epstein files, let the chips fall where they may, so that those who did do something wrong can be held accountable, and so that the victims can receive justice, which is the most important thing.
Well, if your father has been unfairly dragged into this because he hitched a ride on Epstein's plane with Clinton to go to an event, have you ever asked him just heart to heart, what was this all about? What is Epstein all about? You're closer to the answers than I am. What is it about? What was this all about?
He has no relationship with Epstein, right? You know, he, along
in
with
general,
a number of other staff
conversation.
members of President Clinton. Again, I think that what I know is what the average member of the public knows, which is that Epstein apparently tried to insulate himself from accountability by surrounding himself with famous and powerful people like President Trump and President Clinton. And that was one of his strategies to try to avoid accountability. Again, my position is release everything, let there be justice for the victims, and I don't understand why, well, I think I do understand, but I'm disappointed that President Trump just won't go ahead and order the Department of Justice to do it. If he doesn't do it, then Congress should.
Well, we're in this area of a little controversy. You're very close with Jasmine Crockett, and she's known for saying outrageous things. And I'm not going to go back in history and catalog them all, but just this month, she said Republicans are racist, and she called the president a piece of blank. You're friendly with her. Does that bother you in any way?
Well, I got to say, anybody who has a problem with something that Jasmine Crockett says but doesn't have a problem with the crazy and hateful and insane rhetoric that comes from Donald Trump every day is clearly operating from a double standard. I'm not going to defend anything, anybody's words except for my own. I've always been very open with my opinions on issues of the day. I will say that, yes, Jasmine's a friend. That doesn't mean that I endorse everything that she says, just as I'm sure I have Republican colleagues who don't endorse everything that President Trump says.
Okay, well, you're right, and Trump has been nasty to her. She's been nasty back. You have Republicans, though, in your district. Are you concerned about being with someone who says Republicans are racist? I don't hear that kind of language from you, to be honest. I don't hear you throwing out these epithets. Take the last word, and I'll let you go to work, Congressman.
No, listen, I've been... No, you're absolutely right, and I've been very bipartisan in my approach. I mean, just today, again, I released a bipartisan bill with Republicans and Democrats to ban congressional stock trading. I've worked with Republicans here in Congress on a range of issues, and I understand that I have constituents who have a range of different political views, some of which may differ from mine. But my job is to represent everybody. And my posture from the beginning has been, when it comes to the Trump administration and my colleagues in Congress, my posture has been that I will work across the aisle whenever possible, but I will also call out extremism whenever necessary. And that's the way I'm going to continue to handle myself.
Congressman, thanks for making time for us. I think we had a good discussion. See you soon.
Thank you, Gene.